We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Donald Trump transition team plans immediate WHO withdrawal on day one in office. Experts fear exit will cripple its resources and damage ability to tackle emergencies. Israel admits killing of Hamas leader Haniyeh in Iran for first time. PM Netanyahu reports progress on hostages deal but offers no timeline. Amidst reeling from months of political turmoil, France unveils fresh government with budget battle looming. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar to visit US to discuss key bilateral, regional and global issues with US officials. And tributes continue to pour in for filmmaker Shyam Benegal. Celebrities, politicians and admirers pay heartfelt tributes to the key architect of India's parallel cinema. And on to the details now. US President-elect Donald Trump is planning to pull Washington out of the World Health Organization on day one of his second administration. It is one of many things he promises to execute on January 20th. Though this wouldn't be the first time Trump has tried to lead a U.S. exit from the WHO, in 2020, Trump began the process of leaving the organization amid the spread of COVID-19. At the time, he accused the WHO of being under the control of Beijing and criticized its response to the COVID-19 pandemic. He sent a 4-page letter to the WHO director suspending funds.
And we are by far the largest contributor to WHO, World Health, and they misled us. I don't know. They must have known more than they knew because they came after what other people knew that weren't even involved. We knew things that they didn't know, and either they didn't know or they didn't tell us, or, right now they're literally a pipe organ for China. That's the way I view it.
Well, Trump has nominated several critics of the organization to top public health positions, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vaccine skeptic who is up for the post of Secretary of Health and Human Services, which oversees all major U.S. health agencies, including the CDC and FDA. At a press briefing on December 10th, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said WHO will be giving time and space for the transition to the new government in U.S.
We're ready to work together. And the relationship between WHO and US, the United States, has been actually a good model of partnership and has been partnering for many years. And we believe that that will be the case. And I believe, the US leaders understand that the US cannot be safe unless the rest of the world is safe.
Well, the incoming president of the United States, Donald Trump, is likely to conduct a foreign policy that is not constrained by diplomacy, as seen by his unexpected threat to seize control of the Panama Canal. More in this report.
Latin American leaders on Monday rallied to Panama's defense after US President-elect Donald Trump threatened to reimpose US control over the Panama Canal, a key global shipping route located in the Central American nation. Speaking to a crowd of supporters in Arizona, US President-elect Donald Trump said he would not let the canal fall into the wrong hands. Trump threatened to reassert the country's control over the Panama Canal, accusing Panama of charging excessive rates to use the Central American passage and drawing a sharp rebuke from Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino.
Las tarifas no son.
I want to express that every square meter of Panama Canal and its adjacent areas belong to Panama and will continue to belong to Panama. The sovereignty and independence of our country are not negotiable.
Other leaders have also responded to the US President elect's comments, including Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, who expressed support for Panama's government, while Greenland's elected leaders said the Greenland is not for sale, responding to Trump's comments regarding the ownership and control of the vast Arctic island that has been part of Denmark for over 600 years. Looking at Panama, there are some major points to know about the Panama waterway connecting the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. The 80-kilometer interoceanic waterway is operated by the Panama Canal Authority, an autonomous public entity. Panama's constitution describes the canal as an inalienable heritage of the Panamanian nation that is open to vessels of all nations. The United States is its main user, accounting for 74% of cargo, followed by China with 21%. Washington's establishment of a canal zone, an enclave with its own military bases, police, and justice system gave rise to decades of demands by Panamanians to reunify the country and take control of the waterway. Unlike Egypt's Suez Canal, the Panama Canal operates using fresh water stored in two reservoirs. Crafts can travel between the two oceans in about 8 hours without having to sail all the way around Cape Horn, the southern tip of the Americas. 5% of world maritime trade passes through the canal, which connects more than 1,900 ports in 170 countries. More than 11,200 ships transited the canal in the last fiscal year, carrying 423 million tons of cargo. Antara Sinha's report for DD India.
Well, a trial for the man accused of a second assassination attempt on President-elect Trump was delayed until next year by a federal judge in Florida on Monday. Lawyers for the suspect, Ryan Roth, sought a delay of the scheduled February 10th trial date, citing the large volume of evidence in the case. Florida-based U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon agreed to a delay but called the defense request for a postponement until December 2025 excessive. Cannon scheduled the case to go before a jury beginning September 8, 2025. Routh is facing 5 federal charges, including attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate. Routh has pleaded not guilty. And Israel successfully intercepted a missile launched from Yemen early on Tuesday, marking a significant escalation in the ongoing regional tensions. As per Israeli military, sirens were heard in several areas in central Israel following the launch of a projectile from Yemen. The missile was neutralized before crossing into Israeli territory. Israeli defense officials confirmed that no damage or injuries were reported following the interception. The attack underscores the growing involvement of Yemen in the wider West Asia conflict. And for the first time, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has publicly acknowledged the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Iran in July. The move might escalate tensions between Tehran and Israel in a region already rocked by Israel's conflict with Hamas and Hezbollah. Warning Houthi, Katz also said that Israeli troops would also decapitate the leadership of Houthi rebels. Until now, Israel had never admitted to killing Haniyeh, but Iran and Hamas had blamed it for the Hamas political leader's death. Well, Haniyeh was killed in a guest house in Tehran on July 31st. Israel has also allegedly killed Nasrallah in a Beirut bombing on September 27th, which was followed by the killing of Haniyeh's successor, Sinwar, on October 16th.
These days, when the Houthi terrorist organization is firing missiles at Israel, I want to convey a clear message to them at the beginning of my remarks. We have defeated Hamas, we have won over Hezbollah, we have blinded Iran's defense systems and damaged the production systems, we have toppled the Assad regime in Syria, we have dealt a severe blow to the axis of evil, and we will also deal a severe blow to the Houthi terrorist organization in Yemen, which remains the last to stand and fire at Israel. We will damage its strategic infrastructure and we will behead its leaders, just as we did to Haniyeh, Sinwar, and Nasrallah in Tehran, Gaza, and Lebanon. We will do it in Hodeidah and Sana'a. Whoever will raise his hand to Israel, his hand will be severed. The IDF's long arm will harm him and will settle the score.
תפגע בו ותבוא.
Well, meanwhile, in the ongoing hostage talks with Hamas, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated on Monday that a certain progress had been achieved, but he did not specify how long it would take to see the results. During a speech in Israel's Knesset, Netanyahu said that Israel had made great achievements militarily on several fronts and that military pressure on Hamas had led its leaders to soften their previous demands. In recent days, indirect negotiations between Israel and Hamas, mediated by Qatar, Egypt and the United States, took place in Doha, rekindling hope of an agreement that has proven elusive.
I want to tell you cautiously that there is a certain progress, and this certain progress is due to three main reasons. There is progress, I don't know how long it will take. We will continue to operate in any way and without a pause until we bring them all back home from the enemy's land. We do not take our eyes off Iran, that is threatening to eliminate us, and we are determined to stop Iran from reaching nuclear weapon as well as other weapons that could threaten our cities.
Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has criticized world leaders for doing almost nothing to counteract Russia's military cooperation with North Korea, which is sending troops and equipment to help Moscow. Kyiv continues to press allies for a tougher response, as it says Moscow's and Pyongyang's transfer of warfare experience and military technologies constitute a global threat. Meanwhile, Zelensky said over 3,000 North Korean soldiers have been killed and wounded in Russia's Kursk region and warned that Pyongyang could send more personnel and equipment for Moscow's army. North Korea has, however, put the figure at much less, saying 1,100 North Korean troops had been killed or wounded so far in the conflict. Russia has neither confirmed nor denied the presence of North Koreans on its side. According to Ukrainian and allied assessments, North Korea sent around 12,000 troops to Russia. And a Russian delegation met Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian in Tehran on Monday as the two countries prepare to sign a comprehensive cooperation agreement. The deal, however, was set to be signed during a bilateral visit in January. Russia has cultivated closer ties with Iran and other countries hostile towards the United States, such as North Korea, since the start of the Ukraine conflict. The country's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, said in October that Moscow and Tehran intended to sign a deal which would include closer defense cooperation. And still to come, DD India News Hour. Luigi Mignon, the suspect accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, pleads not guilty to murder charges. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano, one of the world's most active volcanoes, sprang into life again, spewing columns of lava. And Russian scientists unearthed 50,000-year-old young mammoth in Yakutia's Vatagaika crater.
Goa, a food paradise, both steeped in historical culinary tradition and at the forefront of a modern-day food revolution that is fresher, more local, and more global than ever before. I'm embarking on a journey across the state to explore the very best of food here.
This is honestly my favorite way to eat an egg.
Break bread with some of Goa's most loved chefs and understand what food really means to communities here. Watch Postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DT News. I'm Lipakshi Khuranan. Moving on, France's Macron unveiled a new government on Monday in the hope his administration can see off another vote of no confidence from a bitterly divided parliament. Country's fourth government since the beginning of the year comprises of former ministers and senior civil servants. Former Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin has been appointed Justice Minister. The former Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne, a technocrat, returns to government as Education Secretary, while another former Prime Minister, Manuel Valls, who served under the socialist president François Hollande, has been appointed overseas minister. Jean-Noël Barrot will remain as foreign secretary, while the right-winger Bruno Retailleau has been reappointed interior minister. Eric Lombard, a former banker, will head up the economy minister, while Serbian Lecornu stays on in the defense ministry, the Rachida Deti as the culture minister. Well, one of the government's first tasks, led by François Bayrou, appointed by Emmanuel Macron 10 days ago, would be to draw up a 2025 budget bill and reduce budget deficit, which is expected to reach 6% GDP by the end of the year, well above the 3% of GDP the European Union requires of member states. With the new government in place, Bayrou said his picks would steer the country towards unity and stability and would provide answers to citizens gripped by worry and fears of insecurity.
I will do everything I can so that we move from the situation of a country divided, exploded, fragmented, torn apart to a country where we can perhaps come together to solve the country's problems. And I demonstrate it in government, I demonstrate it, I hope, in the way I approach problems.
Well, Germany is probing possible security lapses after a man drove his car into a Christmas market, killing at least 5 people and causing a renewed spotlight on security and immigration ahead of a snap election. The possible motive of the arrested suspect, a 50-year-old psychiatrist from Saudi Arabia with a history of anti-Islamic rhetoric, remains unknown. The man, identified only as Talib A, had left a video message on his ex-social media account on the day of the attack. The rambling commentary, he variously blamed Germany's supposed liberalism for the death of Socrates, an ancient Greek philosopher, and accused police of stealing a USB stick from him and destroying a criminal complaint he had filed. Well, as the nation mourned, with citizens leaving flowers and lighting candles in Magdeburg, where the incident took place on Friday, questions swirled about whether more could have been done and whether the authorities could have acted on warnings. The attack occurred 2 months before a snap election in February, where the AfD is polling in second place and is particularly strong in eastern Germany, where Magdeburg is located. A local hospital said it was still treating 72 injured people, of which 15 were in severe condition. Well, around 3,500 people attended a rally of the anti-migrant AfD on Magdeburg's Cathedral Square late on Monday. Federal Interior Minister Nancy Faeser called for tougher metro internal security laws to be adopted, including a new act to strengthen police forces as well as the introduction of biometric surveillance, while co-leader Alice Weidel called for change.
Politicians are not standing by those who suffer from the mistakes of our governments. The focus is too much on relativizing the actions of those who despise our society. I will repeat it once more. We want something to finally change in our country and for us to finally be able to live in safety again. We never want to grieve with a mother who has lost her son in such a senseless and brutal way ever again.
Well, also, Venezuelan government to free over 223 people arrested over election protest months ago during protest following the July 2024 election protest, bringing the total number of people freed since the unrest began to 956. Protest and unrest erupted in Venezuela after the July 2024 elections, which saw President Nicolas Maduro securing a controversial third term, while Maduro's government, along with the country's electoral authorities and Supreme Court, has officially declared him the winner. The opposition remains skeptical. Opposition groups have joined to what they describe as irregularities during the election process and released their own tally of votes, which they claim shows a sweeping victory for their candidate, Maria Corina Machado. And Mozambique's highest court confirmed the ruling party Frelimo's victory on Monday in a disputed October vote after allegations of rigging triggered weeks of deadly street clashes. Fears are high in the country and abroad that more violence could break out in the southern African nation after the opposition threatened to call an uprising following the decision. The United States called for calm after the Constitutional Court said the ruling Frelimo party presidential candidate Daniel Chapo secured 65% of the votes, revising down provincial results from the Electoral Commission, which said he got nearly 71%. And after the election results were released, Mozambique has been gripped by violent clashes all over. The ruling party Frelimo's victory has sparked massive protests by opposition groups who say the vote was rigged. At least 130 people have been killed in clashes with the police, according to the civil society monitoring group Plataforma Decide. Outside the conference centre in the capital, Maputo, where a senior Constitutional Council judge announced that Frelimo's Daniel Chapo was president-elect and the party had retained its majority in parliament, the streets were deserted amid heavy police presence. However, footage on local broadcaster TV Sosuzo Moz showed protesters had taken to the streets in the northern city of Nacala, Porto within an hour of the announcement and in other areas of the capital. Well, Albanian opposition leader Sali Berisha has taken to the streets of the capital, Tirana, on Monday to protest against the current government over a month after being released from house arrest. Well, minor scuffles between protesters and police occurred in at least 2 locations. Berisha said he was demanding the establishment of a caretaker government before the regular parliamentary elections scheduled for May 11th. The 80-year-old Berisha was indicted in September on charges of using his influence during his first term as Prime Minister from 2005 to 2009 to help his son-in-law secure a lucrative construction contract. Berisha denies the charges, claiming they are part of the political vendetta against him by the ruling party. And the suspect accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson has pleaded not guilty to New York State murder and terrorism charges. Luigi Mangione appeared in court on Monday to be arraigned on 11 state criminal counts, including first-degree murder and murder as a crime of terrorism. He is also accused of federal stalking and murder offensive that could lead to a death penalty sentence. Prosecutors have said the federal and state cases will move forward parallel with one another. If convicted of all the counts, he would face a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. The suspect is currently in federal custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Brooklyn after being returned to New York amid heavy security last week. Well, a 33-year-old Guatemalan citizen was charged with murder and arson on Monday after allegedly lighting a woman on fire and watching her burn to death on a New York City subway train over the weekend. Sebastian Zapata was arrested about 6 hours after police says he used a lighter to ignite the clothes of a woman who appeared to be dozing at the Coney Island Stillwell Avenue subway station in Brooklyn. Police said there appeared to have been no prior interaction between the assailant and the victim, who has not been identified. Zapata is in custody and it was not immediately clear if he had a lawyer. Well, Iraqi authorities on Monday announced that the energy-rich country would eliminate the polluting practice of gas flaring by the end of 2027. Gas flaring during the production or processing of crude is intended to convert excess methane to carbon dioxide, but the process is often incomplete, resulting in further methane release. According to World Bank, Iraq has the 3rd highest global rate of gas flaring after Russia and Iran, having flared about 18 billion cubic meters of gas in 2023. Iraq is considered by the United Nations to be one of the 5 countries most vulnerable to some impacts of climate change. In recent years, it has suffered increasingly from droughts and further desertification, with the country gripped by dust storms much of the year. And one of the world's most active volcanoes sprang into life again on Monday, spewing columns of lava 260 feet above. This latest eruption was accompanied by intense seismic activity, with the lava flows moving down the slopes of the mountain, illuminating the night sky, forcing local authorities to issue warnings for people to stay indoors due to the risk of ash inhalation and falling debris. Efforts to monitor and predict volcanic activity are ongoing as experts continue to study the dynamics of one of the most active volcanoes on Earth. Well, large chunks of snow were seen falling from the roof of a building in Japan as snowfall intensified amidst a cold wave blanketing much of the country. Japan has experienced a significant snowstorm with heavy snowfall affecting many regions across the country. At least 7.9 inches of snow fell on many parts of the country, with some areas in the north and the main island of Honshu receiving up to 78.7 inches. Japan's weather agency urged people to exercise caution as heavy rain is further forecasted to hit mainly northern to western areas along the Sea of Japan through Tuesday. And the French Alps are experiencing the magic of Christmas as heavy snowfall transforms the region into a winter wonderland, drawing tourists from around the world to its renowned ski resorts. The heavy snow, which began falling earlier this week, has created perfect skiing conditions, with powdery snow blanketing the slopes and enhancing the festive atmosphere. As the snow continues to fall, both tourists and local alike are reveling in the festive charm and excitement that the Alps bring during this special time of the year. Well, over 174 skiers were safely rescued from gondolas at Winter Park Resort in Colorado after a ski lift cracked at the popular resort over the weekend. The incident occurred on Saturday when the crack caused the gondolas to come to a sudden halt, leaving 174 of the skiers stranded mid-air. Skiers rappelled down by a rope from the gondolas, with all reaching the ground safely. Investigations are ongoing to determine the cause of the structural failure and ensure that it does not happen again. Well, moving on, the World Bank has announced over $12 million towards emergency response and recovery in Vanuatu, a week after a 7.3 magnitude earthquake killed at least 14 people, wrecked buildings and cut power and water supplies. The quake caused significant damage to Vanuatu's capital, Port Vila. Government officials say the scale of the disaster had been devastating for Vanuatu and would hit the economy hard. Well, even after Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein's conviction as a sex offender, even after huge support for the subsequent Me Too movement in the U.S., reports continue to tumble out with alarming consistency about the unhealthy and stifling environment on film sets and sexual harassment of female stars. A chorus of support is growing behind actress Blake Lively after she filed a complaint alleging sexual harassment in a smear campaign against It Ends With Us co-star Justice Baldoni. Over the weekend, Lively filed a complaint claiming that Baldoni and a lead producer had behaved unacceptably during the filming of box office hit It Ends With Us. The allegations included that Baldoni had spoken inappropriately and had sought to alter the film to include adult scenes that were not in the script and had not been agreed to. Complaint goes into great detail on a PR campaign to wreck her reputation and to divert attention from any public comments she might make about the men's alleged misbehavior. The complaint alleges a carefully crafted, coordinated and resourced retaliatory scheme to silence Lively and others from speaking out about the hostile environment on the sets of the movie. It includes allegations that the two men hired a crisis PR team that amplified or planted negative stories about Lively on social media platforms. The complaint was lodged with the California Civil Rights Department and is a precursor to a lawsuit. Major Hollywood talent agency WME has reportedly dropped Baldoni as a client. Bureau Report, DD India. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world today. Russian scientist discovers preserved remains of a young mammoth from some 50,000 years ago, which was found in the permafrost-covered region of Yakutia. The creature, resembling a small elephant with a trunk, was recovered from the Batagaika crater more than 80 meters deep. NASA astronauts aboard the International Space Station have beamed their greetings to the Earth, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. Despite the distance, the astronauts' messages bring a sense of connection, reminding us all that the holiday spirit transcends boundaries, even those stuck in space.
A couple little things we have here with us.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. 24 December is National Consumer Day, highlighting consumer rights. Northern India reels under intense cold conditions, no immediate relief in sight. And preparations in full swing for Mahakumbh, the largest peaceful congregation of pilgrims on earth.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Pakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Donald Trump transition team plans immediate WHO withdrawal on day one in office. Experts fear exit will cripple its resources and damage ability to tackle emergencies. Israel admits killing of Hamas leader Haniyeh in Iran for first time. Prime Minister Netanyahu reports progress on hostages deal but offers no timeline. Amidst reeling from months of political turmoil, France unveils fresh government with budget battle looming. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to visit US to discuss key bilateral, regional and global issues with US officials. And tributes continue to pour in for filmmaker Shyam Benegal. Celebrities, politicians and admirers pay heartfelt tributes to the key architect of India's parallel cinema. And moving on, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will visit the US from 24th to 29th of December. Minister Jaishankar will meet US officials to discuss bilateral, regional and global issues. During the visit, the minister will also chair a conference of the Consul General of India in the US. Well, 24th December, that's today, is being observed as the National Consumer Day across the country. The theme of this year's edition of National Consumer Day is virtual hearings and digital access to consumer justice. In India, the Consumer Protection Act 1986 grants every citizen the right to protect their interest and take remedial steps against any kind of exploitation by sellers, traders and big brands. National Consumer Day is an apt occasion to highlight the need for fighting against the issues like overpricing, adulteration and misleading advertising. And key figure of the Indian parallel cinema, veteran director and screenwriter Shyam Benegal passed away at the age of 90 on Monday. Shyam Benegal breathed his last at the Mumbai hospital where he was undergoing treatment for chronic kidney disease. He was a recipient of several awards including Dada Saheb Phalke Award, National Film Awards, Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan for his outstanding contributions to the field of arts during a career spanning around 6 decades. He acclaimed films including Manthan, Zubeda and Zardar Sardari Begum, blessed with boundless creative energy. He reinvented himself as a director at different stages of his career. He also experimented with different themes, subjects and formats and made over 20 feature films, 70 documentaries and short films. What is remarkable is that most of his work stood the test of time and remains relevant even today. And President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoled at the death of the late filmmaker and praised his storytelling. In a tweet, the President said, and I quote, "The passing of Sri Shyam Benegal marks the end of a glorious chapter of Indian cinema and television. He started a new kind of cinema and crafted several classics. A veritable institution, he groomed many actors and artists. His extraordinary contribution was recognized in the form of numerous awards, including Dada Saheb Phalke Award and Padma Bhushan. My condolences to the members of his family and his countless admirers." While the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "Deeply saddened by the passing of Sri Shyam Benegal ji, whose storytelling had a profound impact on Indian cinema. His works will continue to be admired by people from different walks of life. Condolences to his family and admirers. Om Shanti," unquote. And with cold conditions intensifying, some regions of northern India have been reeling under severe cold. With temperatures in Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir falling below freezing point this winter, the Met Department has also forecasted below normal cold wave days in northwest India. Over the past few days, the cold wave has been tearing through the state of Rajasthan, Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. In Kashmir and other higher altitude regions, freezing temperatures may have caused water pipes to freeze and disrupted hydropower generation due to snow-fed rivers turning into ice. A yellow alert warns of a persistent fog in the Bhakra Dam area and Bal Valley in Himachal, further complicating daily life. While the Weather Office has predicted rain in the national capital after Christmas from December 26 to 28 due to the interaction of a western disturbance in the region and a low pressure area over the Bay of Bengal, the weather phenomena is expected to intensify the chill. And a picturesque capital of Himachal Pradesh, Shimla, transformed into a winter wonderland on Monday as light snowfall blanketed the Queen of Hills in pristine white. The much-awaited fresh snowfall brought smiles to the faces of locals and tourists alike. Tourists flocked to the town's scenic spots to enjoy the mesmerizing views and the joy of experiencing falling snow. The Winter Wonderland tour is logistical nightmare as around 1,000 vehicles also got stuck while tourists were stranded in their vehicle for hours between Solang and Atal Tunnel in Rohtang. Later, police launched a rescue operation and shifted around 700 tourists to safer places. While Kashmir also experienced a fresh spell of snowfall, the prominent regions in the valley like Srinagar, Pahalgam and Gulmarg, among others, have transformed into a snowy wonderland, adding a Christmas touch to the region. The higher altitudes too have been graced with snow. And for more on the weather, we have Shabir Dar joining us from Srinagar and Muskan Chaudhary joining us from Shimla. Well, Shabir, my first question to you. Freezing temperatures out there, they've also caused the water pipes to freeze and disrupted the hydropower generation. Also, what's the condition? How are people bracing with all these difficulties?
Yeah, people are obviously facing a lot of difficulties in coping up with this winter, because this time around we are having intense chill, and people are saying that this is happening after many, many years. A night before the previous night, we recorded -8 degrees, temperature in the night, which was, the coldest night in last 50 years. So this can show that how winter is in Kashmir this time. This intense cold has led to the freezing of all, water supply lines. The power generation is at its low, and this, crisis is actually making the winter worse for the locals in Kashmir. The administration is seized of the matter. The Chief Minister Abdullah has reviewed, the power generation, situation in Kashmir and advised people to, precaution, take a lot of precautions so that people will be able to cope this winter. In Gulmarg, Sonmarg, and other tourist places, there is snowfall in past few days. Tourists are thronged there. They are enjoying this, white carpet in view of this, Christmas celebrations. So for tourists, this is a wonderland, Gulmarg and Pahalgam. But for locals, the chilly winter is obviously, giving them a tough time.
All right. Okay, Muskan, tell us what about Shimla? Shimla also experienced a snowfall and 1,000 vehicles got stuck there. What's the condition out there with the tourists being stranded?
Lipshika, after yesterday's snowfall, the spell of cold wave has taken over the state. It is cloudy right now, but it has turned out to be a blessing for the tourists who are coming to Shimla. They will be getting a white Christmas and a white New Year. And though administration, according to the administration, around 5 lakh vehicles, are about to enter in the state in the next 5 to 10 days. And keeping the tourism flow in the mind, administration is doing their best so that the locals and the tourists doesn't have to suffer. They have also advised home guards and police. Police has been deployed, 4x4 vehicles has been deployed, and JCBs are also pre-positioned in the areas where there are possibilities of getting stuck. So administration is doing is playing a very important role right now to keeping the tourists safe. And they have also advised tourists to drive safely in the areas where it is snowy. And in today morning, in the adjoining areas in Shimla, around Kufri and Mashobra, we have received a fresh snowfall.
All right, Muskan. Thank you so much, Shabir and Muskan, for all those details from there. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. In Prayagraj district of Uttar Pradesh, preparations are underway for Mahakumbh Mela 2025. Extensive beautification is being undertaken, including creation of 60 artifacts with 30 displayed at the Mela campus and 30 showcased at the Uttar Pradesh Museum Directorate. The Mahakumbh, held once every 12 years, is scheduled to begin on January 13th and conclude on February 26, 2025. BCG vaccination campaign was organized in the Kathua district of Jammu and Kashmir to combat tuberculosis. Authorities have requested all citizens to take advantage of the drive and contact the nearest health centers, clinics or TB staff for further information. Notably, as a signatory to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, India is committed to meeting the target of ending TB by 2025, 5 years ahead of the SDG deadline of 2030. In a joint operation, security forces recovered 25 weapons, ammunition and warlike stores from both hill and valley regions in India's Manipur. In the search operation conducted on Tuesday, the security forces recovered 11 live rounds of self-loading rifle ammunition, 1 magazine of SLR, 66 empty cartridges of SLR, a radio set battery and antenna, 1 misfired AK round, 102 empty AK cartridges, 2 empty SLR cartridges, 1 12-bore cartridge and 1 locally made bomb. Pre-celebrations for Christmas festivities are in full swing in India. On the occasion, the 50th annual cake show was organized at the Palace grounds in Bengaluru city. Cakes in the shape Nath Prabhu Kempegowda were some of the highlights, among other very creative and intricate shapes. Meanwhile, Christmas decorations in India's southern state of Karnataka illuminated the streets. Many churches were seen all decked up with intricate lights for the festivities. And still to come in DD India News Hour. 2024 ends on a positive note. India's economy thrives with rising exports even as inflation slumps to a 3-month low. And Indian chess grandmaster Arjun Ergaisi all set to participate in the upcoming World Rapid and Blitz Championship in New York. Also, Awa, Thailand's cute golden tiger goes viral. Internet can't keep with her cuteness.
Goa, a wild nature paradise, where over a third of the state remains wild today, and every corner is full of surprises. Goa's forests evolved through the seasons. Insects and crocodiles flourish in the monsoon, butterflies in the months after the rains subside, and in the winter, the jungle transforms into a haven for birds. Oh, there's a female right next to him. Oh my God, is that 8 otters? That's one of my favorite things about these forests. There are still so many secrets out there.
Watch postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Well, welcome back. You're watching DDT News now. On to some business news now. India's economy is surging ahead with exports rising and inflation easing. In the first part of 2024, total exports reached $536 billion, driven by sectors such as electronics, engineering, goods and textiles. With these gains, Indians are also benefiting as inflation drops to a 3-month low, driven by falling food prices. DD India's Mihir Maikuri reports for more.
India's economy is on a fast track with exports rising and inflation easing. The country now exports to over 200 nations and territories covering 31 key commodities. From April to November 2024, India's total exports stands at $536.25 billion, reflecting a growth of 7.61% compared to last year. Non-petroleum exports have also surged, reaching $239.7 billion, up 7.38% from 2023. Surpassing the previous record of $233 billion set in 2022. Key sectors driving this growth include electronic goods, engineering products, rice, marine exports, and textiles. This economic growth is also benefiting ordinary Indians. In November, the wholesale price index dropped to a 3-month low of 1.89%, primarily due to falling food prices, especially vegetables. As 2024 comes to a close, it marks a decade since the launch of Prime Minister Modi's landmark Make in India initiative. Aimed at strengthening India's manufacturing sector, it has created jobs and enhanced the country's global economic standing. Now in its Make in India 2.0 phase, covering 27 sectors, the initiative continues to drive growth and cement India's role as a global manufacturing powerhouse. India has also reached a major milestone, becoming the world's second-largest mobile manufacturer, producing 99.2% of the smartphones sold domestically. In defense, production surged to $15.12 billion in 2023-24, with exports crossing $2.5 billion to over 90 countries. The production-linked incentive scheme remains a key catalyst for these successes, fueling innovation and efficiency across critical industries. Together, these efforts are transforming India into a global economic powerhouse, creating jobs, enhancing competitiveness, and strengthening its position in the world market. The future looks bright as India continues to lead the way in global manufacturing and exports. Mihir Makori's report, DD India.
Well, Asian stocks edged up on Tuesday, though moves were subdued in a holiday-curtailed week. Investors around the globe are prepared for fewer Federal Reserve rate cuts in 2025. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan rose 0.35% early in the session, tracking Wall Street's overnight gain. Japan's Nikkei fell 0.37%. In China, the blue chip index rose 0.5%, while the Shanghai Composite Index advanced 0.46%. 0.07%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index jumped 0.7%. In the broader market, expectations of fewer US rate cuts in 2025 remained atop of investors' minds. Markets are now pricing in just about 35 basis points of easing for 2025. Oil prices edged higher, with Brent crude futures rising to $72.9 a barrel, while US crude touched $69.48 per barrel. And the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq Composite ended higher on Monday as gains by many of the Magnificent Seven tech stocks pushed benchmarks up on a holiday-thinned trading day. Mega-cap stocks outsized influence on markets. Meta Platforms, Nvidia and Tesla all closed higher, with Google parent Alphabet also in positive territory. The gains helped propel the Nasdaq Composite to its third straight increase and a second advance in 3 sessions for the S&P 500. The S&P 500 gained 43.22 points to end at 5,974.07 points, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 192.29 points to 19,764.89. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 66.69 points to 42,906.95. While you're watching DD India News Hour, time now for some sports news. Coming in the back of a huge win in the series opener, India will be wary of complacency as it is all set for the second women's ODI against the West Indies in Vadodara on Tuesday. Shrugging off the disappointment of an ODI series defeat in Australia early this month, the women in blue has had a memorable outing over the last few days. The side convincingly clinched the T20 International Series against the West Indies, followed by a dominating performance in the first ODI with a massive 211-run win, and will hope to keep the momentum going. Keeping next year's ODI World Cup in mind, India has experimented quite a bit by handing debuts to Priya Mishra and Pratika Rawal, and both have delivered. Leading up to the ICC event next year, the home team will be hoping to create a pool of younger talents. And Cricket Australia said on Tuesday that Australia's Sam Constance will start the 4th test against India at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, but star batter Travis Head faces the risk of absence due to injury. Coach Andrew McDonald confirmed that Constance would make his test debut, becoming the 468th Australian men's test player on Boxing Day. The 19-year-old set to become the youngest debutant since 18-year-old Pat Cummins at Johannesburg in 2011. Meanwhile, Travis Head, who picked up a quad strain in the 3rd test, is not a certain starter, but Coach McDonald is confident that the batter will make the cut. An Indian chess grandmaster, Arjun Erigaisi, is all set to participate at the upcoming World Rapid and Blitz Championships in New York. The tournament will be held from December 26th to 31st and is set to feature chess stars such as Magnus Carlsen, Fabiano Caruana, Ian Nepomniachtchi, Boris Gelfand, and many others. Arjun Erigaisi, who is currently the world number 4 and the top-ranked Indian in fight ratings, had written on social media on Friday last week that he had not received the visa required to travel and compete in the tournament. However, now he has received the US visa. Arjun recently became only the 2nd Indian after 5-time world champion Vishwanathan Anand to cross the 2,800 mark in ELO ratings. Well, the tennis stars have begun arriving in Australia ahead of the United Cup, a mixed team tournament that will provide some preparation for next month's Australian Open. The event is set to take place in Sydney and Perth and will feature 18 countries. Among those arriving in Perth over the weekend were Germany's Alexander Zverev, Canada's Felix Auger Aliassime, and China's Zhang Zizhen. And Ava and Luna, 2 rare 3-year-old golden tigers, have emerged as a new sensation at Thailand's Chiang Mai Night Safari. The visitors from around the globe are mesmerized with their dazzling golden coats and kitten-like features. Ava and Luna's tiger show at the zoo has also sent ticket sales soaring, with the 500-seat stadium selling out for every performance. The golden tiger population has dwindled to a critically low level, with only a handful of individuals remaining in the world. The majority of these rare animals are being cared for in controlled environments such as zoos. Well, before we wrap up, a quick reminder, India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provide a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.